Hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly recap. As you can see, the week here on my Funding Pips account, the 100k account, was going pretty well. I started out the week at $101,000. On Monday, I already made I made $1,000 profit. We could also scroll down here into the calendar and see that's the profit I have made throughout the second week of January, sharing all my trades within my Discord server inside the tape reading channel during the London Kill Zone and during my live streams every day on Discord, Monday till Friday, and also for free on YouTube on Tuesday and Thursdays. And before we get started, make sure to check out the bob.com shop in the description box below if you are interested in joining our Discord server and watching me trade and execute live on a daily basis. Then make sure to use the discount code VIP20 at checkout. Yesterday I also published a new version of the ICT all-in-one indicator where I updated the higher time frame power of 3 candles so they can now actually display fair value gaps and volume imbalances. And I also added the ICT macros to the ICT all-in-one indicator now, and that can all very easily be controlled via these control panels. Make sure to check out the link in the description. There's currently a 14-day free trial going on if you follow me on Twitter and follow all the steps in this little thread. But now let's jump straight into TradingView and take a look at last Monday, because Monday was really, well, I guess many people didn't see a move like that happening on a Monday. Me neither. Later on, of course, in hindsight, you always find a reason why price moved so much. But, well, we just started the week, and usually, if you know that CPI news are going to be released on Thursdays, that's not usually what you would expect for a typical Monday after a pretty heavy NFP release on that previous day right here on Friday. Alright, but let's get started. So I got to the computer at 3 AM like every tape reading session on Discord. I check out what the London Open is up to, and here at the beginning we already saw that we're just chopping and not going anywhere. I was monitoring the fair value gaps here to the left. We're already at the low of the day, so we've been forming lower lows and lower highs, lower high, lower low, and then right here with the 2 AM beginning of our London Kill Zone box, we pushed to the upside, swept short-term highs, but kept on consolidating within the range, also not really respecting the fair value gaps here. And here on Discord I also mentioned that we're inside this bigger 1 hour time frame, bullish fair value gap right here. Let me zoom it in. And that right after the London Open, there's no setup, not even a fair value gap. So for now, just sit back and watch. We still have 4 to 5 AM within my timing window for the London Kill Zone, and that's then the 1 hour chart. My eyes are on this unfilled volume imbalance right up here for later on if we maybe continue higher. I already had some sort of a bullish bias for the day, but well, doesn't mean I cannot go short. The main objective right now is not to jump in and wasting out our bullets. So that's the main objective for me. If I see nothing, I used to jump the gun and go long, short, long, short, long, short, end up with a little bit of drawdown, and then the winning trade comes around when it finally leaves that chop, and I just get back to break even. Not doing that anymore, so I just followed price here. We see that we kept on holding below with the bodies, this lowest bullish value gap. We swept the low of the day one more time and pushed to the upside, close above the midnight level here, and continue to take our short-term high, and even this short-term high, which was located right here. You see this little purple area, that's the new week opening gap right here, drawn by the ICT all-in-one indicator. So we hit that and tapped that new week opening gap perfectly one more time and immediately reject. We also saw resistance around the VWAP. So price getting trapped in between the midnight level and VWAP and this new week opening gap. We got our rejection, and from here on we really continued lower. I was already looking for a short entry of this bearish fair value gap, but obviously that didn't happen. And then we finally, for the first time now after just taking buy side liquidity, managed to close below our lowest bullish fair value gap here. And this could have been actually the first good opportunity to take a short based on this inversion fair value gap, out support, turn into resistance, paired with this bearish fair value gap. I still wasn't too sure about it because we just once again swept the low, and this could just be the continuation, seek and destroy. So I was a little bit more patient for the first trade of the entire week. And I also saw that we are right now still within this bullish fair value gap, the lowest bullish fair value gap, before we hit the sell side liquidity. And I decided to wait for a close below this bullish fair value gap to then flip it into a inversion fair value gap, looking for potential fair value gaps and sell side liquidity below. Right here, that's a nice risk to reward ratio. And we also had this 5-minute bullish fair value gap here from NFP Friday here from 850. Also that lowest bullish fair value gap within this price leg that hasn't been filled yet. Once I saw that confirmation right here, also with a nice pin bar candle rejecting off our old support, or bullish fair value gap turned into a inversion fair value gap, volume imbalance open, wick to the upside, no wick to the downside, and note, we closed below this old bullish fair value gap. So that's when I'm starting to fully go in my short-term bearish mode, and I enter the short right here on that inversion fair value gap. I also shared that on the Discord. Close below fair value gap, inversion fair value gap, that's the confirmation I have been waiting for. If we close back above, I'm out. Drop the trade, targeting sell side liquidity, and later on I mentioned that I'm going to hold it for a runner into this bullish fair value gap right here, and that's exactly what happened. So once we hit that area, I already considered to be done for this entire London session, just keeping an eye out until 5 a.m. because that's what I always do. And out of this bullish fair value gap here, we immediately bounced away very quickly, disregarding our first bearish fair value gap, our second bearish fair value gap, this unfilled volume imbalance right here. And after 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, we've already filled in or retraced this entire drop starting at 4:15 a.m. So also with the first 15-minute candle of the new hour. Can also see that here, 45, 50, 55, 5, 10, 15, and with that, so new hourly candle opens up, 4 a.m. That's the first 5-minute candle, second one, and third one, and then this next candle is the opening of a new 15-minute candle, and that's when this entire movement to the downside even started. So next 15-minute candle, 5-minute, 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 and then we get our next 15-minute candle right here at 4:30, and we open with a unfilled volume imbalance. We didn't retrace back to fill it in, and immediately drop lower with what again? That next 15-minute time frame candle. That's really important. Try to do that next week. If you also trade on the 5-minute time frame, try to be aware of when that next 15, 30 or 1 hour candle opening comes up. But the point is that we immediately retraced here. We filled in that lowest inefficiency, immediately pushing back up. At this point in time, I already mentioned it with the community that we could see a potential accumulation, manipulation, distribution, AMD setup forming here. So session is done for me, but you can use any of the new bearish fair value gaps for the continuation lower. If that's your bias, or the 9 a.m. inversion fair value gap. 2 scenarios here, we continue lower. 1. Other scenario is this happens to be the manipulation for the day, and we reverse off this bullish fair value gap here at the low. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. So I really wanted, also I updated it later on, I think 8 minutes later, looks heavily like a AMD scenario is in play. So I kept an eye out for it, because I always like to buy the potential low of the day, London session low of the day, here on Monday after the accumulation, manipulation, distribution. I didn't just enter based on inversion fair value gaps. I really wanted to see that crystal clear confirmation that, okay, we're not going to continue lower here, retrace and then fail. So I was looking to see what's going to happen within these bullish fair value gaps paired with this unfilled volume imbalance and these 2 inversion fair value gaps here. If we simply fail holding them, I don't want to be involved yet. I don't just want to place my limit order right here, especially after just successfully catching the entire move from here into sell side. So that's 6.5 points, and I think I secured the other contract or the other lot on my funding pips account after 10 points in profit. Already very happy with that result for the first London session of the week. So I'm not really eager to risk, especially outside of my timing window. So I wanted to see confirmation first that we're moving away with momentum of this area, and that's exactly what we did. And then I also mentioned it on Discord, and actually another member caught the exact same entry right here of this bullish fair value gap. We move away without taking a short-term high, leave behind a bullish fair value gap. That's where I took my second entry. Yes, I know, outside the timing window, but at least I made sure everyone is aware of what we're doing. Targeting for my first partial this London session buy side, which was immediately hit with the new week opening gap, and from there on we continue with the New York session. And let's continue with the New York session right away. So we started streaming on the Discord at 9:30 a.m. and we see by that time I already hit my main target for the day, which was for this long from all the way down here, which by the way was a decent, almost 20-point move here into buy side liquidity, securing a partial right here, taking some more off here. I think I let it run until the previous day's high, but this doesn't matter because we already know what's going to happen. We don't really have business down here anymore. And on that live stream on Monday, starting at 9:30 a.m., we saw that first bullish fair value gap. Note what I want to add here is that we just left this 1 hour bullish fair value gap right here on the higher time frame that I mentioned earlier. We retraced into that lowest inefficiency here on the 5-minute time frame. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. A little head and shoulders setup on a lower time frame if you want. Most important thing for me is that we cut through buy side liquidity, leaving behind a bullish fair value gap. And that's what I always do. I simply place my entry right here at the high of the fair value gap, or I scale into the entry. Place my stop loss just below the low of this candle, maybe give it a little bit of room to breathe. Target, previous day's high, nice buy side liquidity target. And once I see that invalidation of this bullish fair value gap here, I immediately take 50% off the trade, or most of the time I completely close the entire position. So getting in on this retracement here inside this fair value gap for that next leg up higher into our previous day's high buy side liquidity target. We also had another bearish fair value gap over here to the left. Let's see what happened in here. We filled that in. Also note that we didn't close above. That's why I really like ES. Didn't close above, rejected, but eventually we continued back up. Very likely also, do you see that? 10:10, 10:15, new 15-minute candle. We continue to rally into our target by 10:45. And from here on, I really wasn't interested anymore. Once that has been hit, I was kind of looking forward for a retracement, but that retracement didn't happen for the entire day because on Monday, all we did was continue to the upside. We even managed to, let's see, let this play out here quickly. We just continued running up, taking more and more buy side liquidity. And I think that's already it for Monday. I did not see this continuation run coming. I did not trade the PM session either. I was already happy with the profits I've made for the day. We caught this short, waited for confirmation on the potential AMD setup. We got in right here. And then right after the New York Open on this bullish fair value gap, just targeting this relative equal high buy side liquidity. For Tuesday's price action, let's actually go through a tape reading chat here on our Discord server. So this was the morning. I already mentioned that it almost feels too obvious to go short, especially after the huge move to the upside on that previous day. But I still had my doubts. So I kind of felt too obvious. And but let's go through it on the Discord. So right here, London Open, let's continue lower. We talked about the daily time frame. We already saw we continued lower. The only good entry, now that was too late. Simply following the fair value gaps like that. We always do 5 points. Let's see, that's the first here. Next volume imbalance. We're still discussing, really holding back. Because right now at this point in time I was looking forward to counter trend. Close above the 15-minute fair value gap plus bullish volume imbalance, trying a low risk long. So that's actually where I got in on this volume imbalance right here, low risk, to see if we can retrace back to the VWAP. After seeing that we closed above our lowest bearish fair value gap here, after bouncing off the consequent encouragement of a nice 5-minute bullish, we leave behind all these volume imbalances here. We start to retrace. This looks like early stages bullish order flow to me. That's why I decided to, hop on there. Let's continue further. And we see we continued higher from here, leaving behind a new bullish value gap. I really just had low-hanging fruit targets to see if we can hit this buy-side liquidity. We already tapped it once, but we didn't continue higher. So I wanted to see if we can continue higher off this bullish value gap here. Let's see. We just continued consolidating, waiting for the next candle to close, and we had this little dip. So we closed above bearish fair value gap plus 15-minute volume imbalance right here. Price came back to retest and continue to deliver higher. Close below this volume imbalance here is going to be my exit. If bullish order flow continues, we should see it continue from here. Order block, down closing candle right here. Bullish volume imbalance paired with the bullish fair value gap. If not, then we're simply not going to continue higher. So let's see what actually happened. We closed below here. I was still looking at the 15-minute time frame at the same time with the ICT all-in-one power of 3 indicator right here. And we saw that also on the 15. Let me actually use, no, not the screenshot. The screenshot, a inversion fair value gap on the 15 and a bullish fair value gap right here. So I was waiting for that 15-minute candle to see if we're going to close below, if we're going to hold support. Eventually, we perfectly kept on holding this 15-minute bullish fair value gap. This is also post 5 a.m. at this point in time. So close below here, exit. I scratched that idea. I think I took off a partial, but we continued back up, and this kind of was that confirmation for me to keep on holding. So let's see what happened next. Like always, keeping everyone up to date, even post London kill zone. We left behind a new volume imbalance, and then we saw something very funny. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-minute candles opening and closing within this volume imbalance. So I already knew something was off about this, but well, what can we do? And eventually I got stopped out with my safety stop loss right here. And let's see what actually happened here. Classic Tuesday high of the week. We're just chatting. Close below 4:25 a.m. fair value gap is my exit. So that would be right this fair value gap right here. If we close below that 4:25, I think this little bullish fair value gap is my exit. So eventually on this trade I have been stopped out right here once we close below it. But then I saw, okay, we failed to continue higher here. So very likely we're just looking forward for price to continue lower. We have a nice bearish fair value gap here. I took the short with my stop above the candle's high, targeting that next sell side liquidity pool, making back my loss from the initial counter trend long and some additional profit. From here on, I think on that was Tuesday, I went to the gym and kept on tape reading after I got back here at 1 p.m. my time, so just 1 hour before the 8:30 a.m. candle. And same thing again, we fill in the fair value gap and we're starting to push through the bearish fair value gap. We closed above it and I tried a low risk entry. So once we close above the inversion fair value gap after taking sell side, I'm going in a low risk long, seeing if we can hit buy side. So right here, short-term highs marked out, paired with this bearish fair value gap. Now, once again, very similar to what we saw on this price leg, we leave behind bullish fair value gaps and a inversion fair value gap, seeing if we cannot hold support here to at least take out these short-term highs. Let's see what that next update delivered. Starting to retrace, but we also, this is just a short-term low. That's not really what you would consider sell side. Keep that in mind as we continue. We keep on holding support. Have a nice little trend line there. Here I mentioned that we could just see the exact same thing that we saw right here. Instead of continuing higher, just a little retracement on a higher time frame or the lower time frame before we eventually collapse. So right here I took my entry, targeting those short-term highs. That's already almost 4 points or something like that. And eventually that played out. Hit my profit target. Let's see. So at this point in time, we filled in this entire bearish fair value gap. Right here, we took out these short-term highs. I was looking to see if I can leave a runner. This is a paper execution because I'm only executing on my funding pips account. Already secured some profits here. Let's see if we continue lower. Yes, and then exactly that's what happened. So we filled in this bearish fair value gap. Broke our trend line. Not that I'm paying much attention to that, but you get the idea. We filled in this fair value gap, take the short-term highs. We formed a high, higher low, higher high, higher low with a lower, higher low to the left and a higher low to the right. A short-term low right here, followed by a higher high. And then with the 8 a.m. new hourly 5-minute candle, we A, open up with a volume imbalance on the hourly time frame, and B, we shift market structure right here. So this is a mini 2022 model inside the range. So a internal 2022 model. So let's see what happened next. I mentioned, all right, I've got out of the long. I'm waiting for that fair value gap to form now. Here, if the 8 a.m. candle wasn't just a new hourly candle fake move, yes, we should see continuation lower. We hit our low-hanging fruit targets, which most of the time is all we get and can ask for when counter-trend trading. But like we say so often, these 5-minute candles at the new hour open like to fake out traders often. We had the bearish fair value gap. That's my entry signal short paired with the breaker block right here, targeting simply that next bullish fair value gap to the downside. Let's see. That's already the 10th of January now. Cleared short-term high. The only reason, because after that I decided to jump on a live stream because there's no point for me to continue tape reading if I just could jump on a New York session live stream earlier. And that's what we did. So right here we had this internal 2022 model, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low, market structure shift, bearish fair value gap, and we continued lower into all these discounts and our bullish fair value gap right here and there. I think that's the fair value gap I marked out. Yeah, here it continued. At the New York Open, I was still in some of the short positions, holding on to it, seeing if we can continue lower. But right here, we can also see that at the New York Open, where we at, this is the ICT all-in-one, 1 hour time frame power of 3 candles. We started to slow down. We already retraced quite a bit during London, and also keep in mind, all we did on that day, this was actually very interesting. So I'm really excited to talk about this now. This video is going to take a little bit longer, but it's really in-depth, going over the entire price action throughout the week. London, short, Asia, sideways, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. I was already looking out for that once I saw that at the New York Open we just go sideways. We already retraced, I mean at least a little bit of this entire range, of this huge expansion here on Monday, and the New York Open didn't immediately collapse lower to the downside. So right here, secured some more profits as we hit sell side liquidity on my funding pips account, and eventually, where's the New York Open? Right here, that's the New York Open. Here's our 8:30 open, and all the way up here is our midnight level, perfectly aligned with our 2 a.m. high. We continue to go sideways. Let me use the path tool here. We form a low, a high, a lower low. Already worried that we could simply just keep on chopping here after a relatively big London session trend prior to the New York Open. I actually tried to short this of this bearish value gap. So right here, I wanted to see that continuation lower. But once I saw that close above, I immediately closed the position, taking a small loss here. That's also when I started to exit my last short position of this 2022 model. So let's see what actually happened down here just by using the 5-minute time frame. So right here we had a nice little inversion fair value gap. We close above it, so a bearish fair value gap where I tried to short from. But then we really see, okay, we're closing above, and we have this volume imbalance here as well that we use, that was used to hold support here. We bounce off and continue higher from here. So at this point in time, I didn't take an entry right here because I just lost. It could have been worth a try with our stop loss just at the 50% of this wick or below this wick right here. Wasn't worth the risk to me, because we could just end up taking the short-term high and chop around here for a little while. So like on Monday, I wanted to see that confirmation that we're going to continue higher. And that confirmation for me came in once I saw that we also close above this bearish fair value gap right here, turning it also into what? A inversion fair value gap. All this, by the way, has been done in real time on the live stream. Just check out the Livestream Recording playlist. I put it in the video description, or maybe also link it in the top right of the video. So we see that continuation, but we also didn't take out the short-term high just yet. This was really my target. We just came back into our 2022 model bearish fair value gap here, not into buy side. So let me make this a bearish fair value gap. We retraced into the inversion. We had two bullish fair value gaps right here. And that was that point in time where I was looking for a long entry. I got in long on this bullish fair value gap, scaled in more on this bullish fair value gap, and a little bit more on this inversion fair value gap. If all of this would have failed and we would have closed even below that inversion fair value gap, I would have simply closed the position with two losing trades for the London session, for the New York session after the New York Open. But what we also did on that stream was we inverted our scale, our chart here, or price, simply by right click and then click on invert scale. And at this point in time, once I've done that, it was really obvious to me, because right here we see 3 pushes to the upside. First one, second one, third one, accumulation during Asia, accumulation, manipulation, and then at the New York Open right here 9:30 we get that last push to the upside, and Q didn't do that, so we also saw SMT divergence right here, and then we shift structure. Looking at it like this, I think it's a little bit more easier to really understand, okay, this would have been a perfect 2022 model short at the high of the day. We have our inversion fair value gaps, we have our bearish fair value gaps, we have our breaker block right here, and this lowest down closing candle would be considered our breaker block. But for some reason, to most viewers on the stream, it wasn't really obvious when looking at it like this. Same for me, but once I, not logarithmic, but once I flipped it on its head, I was super confident that we're gonna take at least this short-term low, and eventually even that low of the day. And that's exactly what happened. My last take profit target was set right here at the previous day's low, and we also hit that. Once we hit that, we actually also got a nice reversal setup, but I'm not going to cover this, otherwise the video is going to take forever. But I mean, I think we just kept on consolidating on Tuesday. Yeah, we just kept on ranging after we saw our 2022 model short here, which in reality was a long from the low of the day, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Let's continue with Wednesday now. So on Wednesday, I always start the tapering session at 3 a.m. I share my charts before that, so likely 15 minutes before that. And what did we see right before 3 a.m.? So 3 a.m. open up. I always check for fair value gaps before 3 a.m., especially since right here, low of the day, Asia session, lower low, lower highs. We shift market structure immediately after taking out this Asia session equal low sell side taken, and we leave behind this bearish value gap. We close above it, and what happens afterwards? We use it as support with the inversion fair value gap right here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. use it as support, deliver into our first short-term high. So from here on, with the market structure shift setup, we could even look at it on a 15-minute time frame. It was the perfect 2022 model. We had those two bullish fair value gaps. So at this point in time, we already cleared the Asia session high and rejected off this bearish fair value gap right here. I'm interested to see if we cannot take out these perfect 1, 2, 3, 4 equal highs. So I'm still holding on to the bullish bias, because why shouldn't I? Just because we take out some buy side liquidity doesn't mean we immediately have to reverse. That's very dangerous thinking in my opinion. So we had those two bullish fair value gaps here. I entered long, and I also made sure I let everyone on Discord know. Let's hop over here to the 10th of January. I already mentioned at the beginning here, this would have been a nice long from the Asia session low using the inversion fair value gap. And from here on, I shared this chart. So we had this inversion fair value gap right here, used as resistance twice. Now we closed above it, paired with those two bullish fair value gaps that I just outlined. So we either going to bounce from here, taking out buy side liquidity, or we're going to close below it, continuing lower. Very simple. Looking for that equal high buy side liquidity, and he already cleared both of these buy side liquidity targets. If ES fails to hold, exit. And then, yeah, did you go long? Yes. We just keep on going through that. So we entered long right here. We also saw the bounce of the VWAP. And as we continue in the session, yeah, still holding on to it. Close below that last fair value gap is going to be my exit. So that's what it looks like if you join the VIP membership and hang out with us for the tape reading session here on the Discord server. As you can see, we on the 15-minute time frame, we also had a 15-minute bullish fair value gap here. Market structure shift also on the 15 after taking equal low Asia sell side liquidity. And eventually we got that continuation up higher. And then we just went up flying. Final target, previous day's high. I also mentioned it out here. Hindsight 2022 model, because at that point in time I didn't see the breaker block. I only saw the fair value gaps, but thank God that was enough, because this was a killer move, more than 20 points to the upside. Done for the session, previous day high hit, and we just ticked it actually. If we go back to trading view now, where we at, we can see that we just ticked that previous day's high at 430, leaving what behind? Perfect equal high buy side. So at this point in time, I was really interested to see what the New York session is going to do. Like always, we started the New York session stream at 9:30 a.m. on the Discord, because it's Wednesday. I only stream live on YouTube Tuesdays and Thursdays. We retraced. I mean, it was a good opportunity during the macro right here, 8:55, 9 a.m. We sweep sell side liquidity, bounce off our inversion fair value gap here at the low. Let's see if we even had a bullish fair value gap here. No bullish fair value gap right there. Not right here, but we had another inversion fair value gap. I just want to point this out. This is how precise ES is. We closed below it, our inversion fair value gap, but immediately volume imbalance back inside of it. We closed right at the low. We volume imbalance below it, but we immediately closed back above it. And also note that we have the midnight level right here from the ICT all-in-one indicator. Right here, the New York Midnight Open, this dashed line. So we're bouncing away from here. 9:30 opens up right there, and obviously just targeting that equal high buy side. At that point in time, I wasn't really interested going long on my funding pips accounts. Also not really short. Or did we? I'm not really sure. I would have to watch the recording. At this point in time, I don't really remember. I think I waited for more confirmation for the short. Seemingly could be a pump and dump. So we have this pump up above buy side. We are inside a bullish fair value gap. We have two bullish fair value gaps right here, leaving behind a new bearish fair value gap. Actually using that to continue lower was kind of sketchy to me, but I didn't engage anymore. It's already 10:10, and on that day, let me actually check the Discord to see if I have any information here, because right now I don't remember. So this was that London session long that we took. That's a breaker block, exactly, and then we referenced This breaker block targeting 3.5 to 4 standard deviations to the upside. That was the markup that we did, or that we left behind at the end of the live stream, just around 11 a.m. And I think I entered into a long position. Once we closed, yeah, now I remember, just needed a little refresher. Once we closed above this bearish fair value gap, and we did that right here, retested the fair value gap, and that's where I went long, just targeting this buy side liquidity, not looking for a huge move to the upside. But unfortunately, that never happened. That would have been nice 5 points for relatively low risk. My invalidation for this inversion fair value gap was this bullish fair value gap right here. I also mentioned that on the Discord and on the live stream. As long as we hold this bullish fair value gap here, there's no reason for us to believe that we are going to attack this short-term low right here or this short-term low right there. As long as we hold support right here, and we don't see a candle closing below that, we're good to go into this buy side liquidity. But because I had something else to do and I really didn't want to go outside and always check my phone to see if we hold this bullish fair value gap, I decided to close out the trade at break even. But eventually this still ended up working out, as you can see. Not very nicely, but yeah, very slow and steady. We managed to push here to the upside. We can also look at that picture on Discord right here. We had old bearish fair value gaps somewhere, from last week Monday, so from the 2nd of January, all these bearish fair value gaps later on that if we go back to Discord, have been used as inversion fair value gaps. Once we close above the first bearish fair value gap, we hold support, we close back above it again right here, and we hold support, continuing into buy side liquidity. So now we are already on Thursday. I'm going to do the recap also inside the Discord server because all the charts are in here. Early morning, 7:37, shared the first screenshot. Okay, Asia session high, we cleared that, closed above yesterday's high, so that's the previous day's high from the ICT all-in-one and the previous week's high level right there. That's red line. The midnight open right here paired with a inversion fair value gap from previous week Monday. We have buy side targets above and that 2023 high. It's CPI Thursday. I wasn't really interested on risking much during the London session. So let's continue. Shared a 1 hour update right here. You can see we close above this hourly bearish fair value gap, which has been used as resistance before. Twice actually. Now we close above that. Next bearish fair value gap, and then that highest 1 hour time frame bearish fair value gap before we hit buy side liquidity above here. So let's continue. That's all I have on my chart going into today. I mentioned that that's what December CPI, the news release, actually looked like, and what the London session looked like. London open, bullish fair value gap. We closed below that, and I think I actually took on a short. Let's see. Just keeping everyone up to date. We had this inversion fair value gap here, took this short-term low. But up until then, little market structure shift, I went short of this inversion fair value gap. That you will see that in another screenshot. All these volume imbalances here until I checked the hourly time frame, and on the hourly time frame I saw, oh, we left behind a hourly bullish fair value gap. I'm not sure if I want to keep on holding onto that short. So ES1, 1 hour bullish fair value gap, reverse my position, first target above 4834. So after, closing out the short, once I saw that we closed back above this inversion fair value gap, that's all I had to use because, there were no other fair value gaps within this region. Bounce off the 1 hour fair value gap, nice bullish engulfing momentum candle at 3 a.m. Closing back above the inversion fair value gap. And then so initially I used it to go short, got stopped out, so I took a little loss here, and then I entered on that same inversion fair value gap again long, targeting this first short-term high. Here's a picture of what it looked like. So right here, I used it to go short, closed it once I saw that candle was going to close back above it, like always. got in on that retracement, targeting that first short-term high. And once I saw this volume imbalance, everything was already confirmed to me. Targeting, like always, 5 points. Short, small loss, 0.75 points. Using my entry fair value gap, inversion fair value gap as invalidation. Shortly afterwards, retested and used as support. 4825 booked, 4837.5 next target. This buy side liquidity and consequent encouragement of our highest 1 hour bearish fair value gap. Very simple, and eventually moved the stop loss to break even. As we got closer, we already hit our 5-point target, closer to our buy side liquidity level. And I think we eventually hit that buy side liquidity level. Yep, right here we hit that buy side liquidity level. And at this point in time, 4 AM candle about to hit. Always mentioning, even in the tape reading sessions, to be aware of what time it is. Time is more important than price because we're actually watching a time-based chart. It's our X. If we have a YX scale, time is X. Otherwise, we wouldn't see the information like we would see it right here on that chart. New hourly candle opened up. We see we immediately retraced and we closed below this bullish fair value gap. I think somewhere in here, I also mentioned that if we close below that bullish fair value gap, that would be a confirmation for a short. But because it was CPI, I already caught the move to the upside. I wasn't really interested in taking on more risk pre-CPI news. I know it's still 4 AM, just looking for that, well, could have just been a inversion fair value gap setup or a retracement into this bearish fair value gap. That's actually what we got. We never retraced into this bearish fair value gap, but the first bearish fair value gap that has been formed right here, this little red box, retraced into it, filled in perfectly to the tick, and then we continued lower into further sell side. Pre-CPI news event. So now let's get back into trading view. We mentioned that we caught the London session long here to the upside and missed out. Well, not missed out, actively decided to not engage on that short opportunity. Eventually we hit all that sell side, but it wasn't worth the risk to me because we can see that after the end of our London kill zone, all we did right here was consolidate within this range before we get our 8:30 CPI news candle right here. I'm actually using the news indicator from 2 degrees. I really like it. It's perfect. That's all you need. But anyway, we streamed right here. You can watch that entire recording also on YouTube. We started at 8:30 AM or just before that. Saw this bearish fair value gap. I think we played around a little bit here on the 1 minute time frame, tape reading this entire reversal to the upside, making some really good profit on our paper trading account. And from here on, where's the 9:30 open? The 9:30 open is right here. We've been watching this bearish fair value gap here on the 5 minute time frame. Let me just get rid of these drawings. Right here, that was our main focus to see. If we close above this bearish fair value gap, then we are very likely going to revisit our data high right here, our CPI news candle high, and our current high of the day. So I have been actively waiting to see if we get that close above. On NQ, we actually did get the close above, but also at this specific level right here, we have a 5 minute bearish fair value gap. The New York midnight level, the dashed line, the orange line, our previous day's high, and red line, our previous week's high from the ICT all-in-one indicator. And what did we do right here? 9:35, we did not close above our bearish fair value gap. So we're not in bullish order flow. We're not going to take the short-term high. What happens at 9:40? We reject exactly from this area. And we actually even had a 15-minute fair value gap here. And if we look at the 15-minute, look at this level of precision. We didn't close above. We rejected from here. Going back to the 5 minute time frame now, let's draw it up. 5 minute time frame, perfect precision. And that's why I use this approach only on ES and not so much on NQ. That's why I only execute on ES. That's all I can recommend. We close below the VWAP, and from here on, we closed below this bullish fair value gap right here, and this bullish fair value gap right there. Our final last level of defense in terms of bullish fair value gaps before we hit sell side liquidity was right here. And we actually decided to take on a paper trade short. I didn't take any live trades on my funding pips account on that day, but all it was based on was, okay, we have a short-term low right here and a short-term low right here. Obviously, right now, we're not bullish. We're in bearish order flow. We respected bearish inefficiencies. Right here, this is 950, so this is within the ICT macro timing 950 until 1010. This is also a new 4-hour candle opening. That's what I like to call a super macro, because we also get new 4-hour traders very likely involving with price. Bullish value gap, we close below that, so it's a inversion fair value gap. We have a inversion fair value gap right here. And now at 9:50 a.m. once that candle closed, we also left behind a new bearish fair value gap. And that's what we used to enter short, like this. We just wicked inside of it on that 10 a.m. candle, new hourly opening. I think the stop loss was just set up here, or maybe at 10 points for this paper trade, targeting that previous day's low. And it was, yeah, very quickly hit. We had all the sell side here to the left from Wednesday's, yeah, consolidation within this little range right here, and eventually hit this low. I think I went short at the end of the live stream to demonstrate what it looks like to execute on a CFD challenge inside the MT5 MetaTrader 5 desktop version, and how I use my risk management tool. I'm going to also record a video, for example, for all the future traders out there who only are used to execute on NinjaTrader or TradingView itself. If you're interested in that, make sure to let me know in the comments below. I'm going to record a video on how to set up MT5, so it's very similar to TradingView in terms of your risk management and your chart layout. But yeah, towards the end of the stream, once that paper trade hit its take profit target, we wanted to see if bearish order flow can continue. We had two bearish fair value gaps right here. We hit the consequent encouragement of this bearish fair value gap right there. Initially holding support on this bullish fair value gap. Bullish fair value gap right here. No. And here's that bearish fair value gap, that lowest bearish fair value gap. And we didn't clear that previous day's low at that point in time. We just touched it and turned around. So once we close above our lowest bearish fair value gap, this is being turned into a bearish fair value gap, into a inversion fair value gap. So now it's correct. Sorry guys. We close above this lowest bearish fair value gap, turns into a inversion fair value gap. We left behind a bullish fair value gap inside that inversion, retest it, and continue up higher. So at this point in time, I'm waiting to see if we can close A, so something like this, if we can continue higher from here, closing above this bearish fair value gap, and then continue higher. But this is already at the end of the session, so I'm not really interested in that. And because we have equal low sell side at the previous day's low, also leaning towards the short side more than the long side. I was waiting for a close below this bullish fair value gap and back below our inversion fair value gap after having filled in the most recent discounts right here. I entered short on this inversion fair value gap right here with my stop above this short-term high, targeting first of all that previous day's low for a low hanging fruit target, and then eventually more sell side to the downside. This short-term low was really that next short-term low for me to target. This short-term low right here, and at this point in time I had to leave because on Thursday I actually went to the spa or the sauna right after the New York AM session, so I had to leave the charts because afterwards, so after that 11 AM candle, we went sideways, and that's always a good sign that something is about to happen. And then, like always, to know what's going to happen, we use fair value gaps here. This weekly recap actually turns into an entire mentorship. Bearish fair value gap. Next bearish fair value gap would be up here. Short-term high right here. We close above that bearish fair value gap. We come back to retest it, leaving behind a bullish fair value gap right here as well. And started the reversal into our first buy side target. leave behind bullish inefficiencies, and we simply continue to reverse here during the PM session. And we could have told simply by using that lowest bearish fair value gap, okay, we close above it, something's up. And you want to use these fair value gaps and inversion fair value gaps at the extremes. So at the low, like for example here, but here if we go back and turn up the ICT all-in-one, it doesn't work in replay mode because it's over 2,500 or 3,000 lines of code. It's too heavy. That's why I created the ICT all-in-one light version. So right here, using that inversion fair value gap to go long wouldn't have been so attractive because we didn't clear that higher time frame sell side liquidity pool just yet. So I'm waiting for that to be taken. And yeah, you would also like to only see one inversion fair value gap instead of, or one bearish fair value gap on that leg to the downside instead of two right above each other. So like this, like we saw it right here, we had one bearish fair value gap and another one. So it's not really wise to do the exact same thing right here where we see the close above and then we enter long to target our next short-term high as a reversal setup, if you want to say it like that. Because if we have two fair value gaps above and below each other, then yes, we can use this inversion fair value gap now after closing above it to go long. But yeah, we could immediately get rejected on this fair value gap that's just sitting above it. So there's no point in doing this. I mean, it's just too risky. And we didn't take out that higher time frame, sell side liquidity right here. But let's continue with Friday, otherwise this video will never end. So let's continue with our last trading day of our second week of 2024. During the London session, I couldn't attend to the tape reading session because in the morning my dog had a little accident and we immediately had to go to the vet. He's 15 years old, so we have to be really careful. He's an old boy. I love him so much. So yeah, I decided, well, it really wasn't a decision. I just mentioned that I'm not going to be there for the London tape reading session. We didn't miss out on much because there actually wasn't much to tape read except the London Open, immediate push to the upside. So all you could have done is maybe market order in once we close above all these bearish fair value gaps here from this move to the downside. All we did right here was sweep the Asia session low, consolidate below it, reverse. So on this candle, market order long, targeting Asia buy side right here. More buy side, the current high of the day right here, taking partials, and then as a final take profit target, simply use short-term highs. Especially if it's a London session, don't always expect that's going to run all the way into your previous week or previous day's high. It's not really worth it. For London, I like to only focus or to at least secure partials on low-hanging fruit targets. Like for example, if you get in long right here, right there or after 5 points, and simply look for more buy side that could be cleared. But I'm more interested in the New York session because we started streaming on Friday on our Discord server, I think at 9:30 a.m. So we already saw down here, we hit the low of the day, but we didn't really take out any major sell side liquidity. So I was still, interested to see what's going to happen. The only thing what we did right here was fill in this bullish fair value gap right there and bounce away from it. So let's, like always, go with the flow and follow what the fair value gaps tell us. We close above our first or our lowest bearish fair value gap right here, turning it into a inversion fair value gap. Just above it, we have another bearish fair value gap right there, and we perfectly hold resistance there. Like always, we only look at the candle bodies and not the wicks, because bodies tell the story and wicks do the damage. After closing above, we retrace back to the 50% level of our inversion fair value gap. So this is a bearish fair value gap, and eventually at the 8:30 PPI, core PPI news release, we push to the upside, holding support on this liquidity void / bullish fair value gap right here, simply continuing to run up above London session buy side. I started to stream at 9:30 or at 9:15, where we just saw that continuation up higher. Once we hit our previous week's high level again, we've been here before, we hit this CPI data high, and then we had more buy side sitting right here and more buy side sitting right here. So at this point in time, I was just interested to see if price is really that bullish. So it's going to use that highest bullish fair value gap for the continuation higher. So I entered long right here with my stop loss at the previous week's high, targeting just a quick scalp of 5 points into that previous day's high. Previous day London buy side liquidity. But right here and there, also during the live stream, so we had a bullish fair value gap here. The recording for Friday, unfortunately, well, is a little bit damaged. You only hear my voice and see a frozen screen, so it's pretty much a podcast. I decided not to upload it or delete it once I've uploaded it and realized that it's a podcast. But the main point is, we closed right at the low immediately of this bullish fair value gap, and on that very next 950 candle, we managed to close below it. During that live stream, I said, okay, I'm going to take off 50% of this entry, leaving my stop loss right here. So I've been stopped out on this trade, on this continuation trade into more buy side liquidity, because seemingly price is not really interested in continuing higher. So right now we have a inversion fair value gap right here, and let's follow the fair value gaps after the New York Open. Bullish fair value gap right here, bullish fair value gap right there. Bullish fair value gap, and at this point in time here on this 10 a.m. candle, new 4, 1 and 15 minute candle at 10 a.m. if we look at the 5 minute time frame, we close below this bullish fair value gap. We already closed below this bullish fair value gap, and we closed below this lowest bullish fair value gap before we hit the short-term low. And at this point in time, if I go into replay mode and just look at the price action like it was at this time, you can also look at the hourly time frame with the ICT power of 3 indicator. We had a nice rejection wick here. So the 9 a.m. candle close, this is the 9 a.m. candle here with the wick to the upside. The retracement up until the 9:55 close represents this wick, and the new candle opens up. And as you can see, this candle right here, if I go to the settings and I turn on open high-low close lines, let's wait a second for it to update. So this candle right here, this new hourly candle using the power of 3 indicator, the high, the low, the open and the close perfectly matches this candle. So at this point in time, I was really interested to see if we can retrace into our hourly bullish fair value gap paired with the inversion fair value gap. So this is our inversion fair value gap on the hourly, and this is our bullish fair value gap. I wanted to see if we can retrace into that, and the perfect short-term low sell side liquidity inside this inefficiency on the higher time frame was this short-term low. Can also see how perfectly that matched up. So this short-term low, if I extend it out, perfectly sits inside this inversion fair value gap. So that's all I was out to target. And how could I get into this short? Well, by using the first inversion fair value gap, the bearish fair value gap, and the inversion fair value gap above. So I stacked positions, lower risk, more risk, and the most amount of risk, but still below I think just about 1% risk on that trade, simply targeting the sell side liquidity. And that's already a 10-point move, a 13-point move, and a 15-point move almost, just into the sell side liquidity right there. And this was our Friday session. I promise that I'm going to do a in-depth review of Friday's price action, because the live stream recording is damaged. So let's see what actually happened. Like always in replay mode, the ICT all-in-one indicator, it tells you study error because it exceeds the memory limit by 1.5 times. That just brings to show how much is behind that script when putting over 22 concepts into one indicator. So obviously we retraced in to our bearish fair value gap. We even hit our highest entry right here using this inversion fair value gap at this point in time. Order flow told me that it's not really out to continue higher and use these two bullish fair value gaps to deliver into buy side. Instead, price is more likely to hit a short-term low and retrace into a hourly bullish fair value gap. And that's exactly what happened. So 10 a.m., 10:05, 10:10, new 15-minute candle opens up and hits our target. New 15-minute candle, like said. Then we immediately bounce back. I already secured profits on this trade, on the highest risk trade, and this trade right here, leaving this trade to run into the potential low of the day. Guess this was me being greedy on Friday. Stop loss at break even. And I got stopped out at break even here. Let's see what happened. We actually continued a little bit lower. But all we did for the remainder of Friday was seek and destroy and shop. And I also mentioned the possibility of us staying within our high and low for the day already during the live stream. And what I also wanted to point out during that live stream, I mentioned that we have a unfilled volume imbalance right here, right on that news candle, and we always come back sooner or later for unfilled volume imbalances. Always keep an eye out for them. If you have access to the ICT all-in-one, what you can actually do is go over here into the settings and turn on multi-time frame volume imbalances. Then you scroll down and look for the multi-time frame volume imbalance setting. That would be right here. And then you can select any time frame. So for example, the 5-minute time frame, amount of volume imbalances to be displayed. And then you click extend all volume imbalances. And then it does this automatically for you. It extends out all volume imbalances until they are filled. Or into, basically infinity. So let's actually change that again and scroll down here. And say, do not extend all volume imbalances. Because then they're only extended to the point where they filled. And that's exactly what happened here. We retraced and eventually filled in this entire hourly bullish value gap. Also keep in mind here on the hourly time frame, we never closed below it. We had 1, 2, 3 opportunities right here to manage to close below this hourly fair value gap, overlapping with the inversion fair value gap on the hourly, but we never did it. This would have been the confirmation that we're going to make a new lower low if we would have seen that close below our hourly bullish fair value gaps. Never happened, and that was the end of the week. Alright guys, and that's it for the weekly recap / 2024 mentorship. I'm gonna keep making these videos every weekend. Tomorrow is going to be a bank holiday, so you have some more time to study and maybe watch this video a couple of times if you want to. I think there's so much value in this video. That's why I don't want to call it a weekly recap. I took you through every single trade I took, explained the why behind it. We looked at several different examples explaining inversion fair value gap setups, the 2022 model that we saw on Tuesday. Going with the flow, explaining my entire approach. And you can also see that I like to keep things simple. I'm not someone to overcomplicate it with dozens of different theories and drawing too much on my chart. I just use liquidity, time, price, and fair value gaps. And of course my ICT all-in-one indicator, which helps me with a lot of that. So guys, I would really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you found something that you have never seen before or that you learned while watching this video, make sure to let me know what it is in the comments down below. I would really appreciate it if you leave some feedback on this video. And now we're already at the end of the video. I don't put advertising on this 1 hour long weekly recap. This would just make it really hard to watch. So the only advertising you see in this video is me promoting my own trading community. So if you want to be part of the community and sit in with me during the London sessions and do the tape reading and watch me trade live on a daily basis on a Discord server, Make sure to use the 20% discount with the code VIP20 here on my wob.com shop. The link for that is in the description box below. And if you're interested in the ICT all-in-one indicator, I'm currently hosting a 7-day free trial if you sign up via wob.com, or if you follow me on Twitter and head over to my profile, check out the pinned post right here. Here you can get a 14-day free trial without a credit card being required. All I ask you to do is leave some feedback in this feedback form at the bottom of this thread. The entire setup guide, how to use this indicator, my chart template, it's all inside this thread. Alright guys, thanks very much for watching this video to the end. I really hope you have learned something new. Like I said, please let me know in the comments, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week on Tuesday and Thursday for a free YouTube live stream. And if you decide to join my VIP membership, then I will see you every day on Discord during the New York session and the tapering session during the London Kill Zone. Take care and enjoy your long weekend. Bye.